I never thought my life would turn into something out of a bad country song, but here I am, sitting on the porch, staring at the night sky, wondering where it all went wrong. My name is Jack Reynolds, retired Army, 22 years of service, 2 deployments, and a chest full of medals that don't mean much outside of a shadow box. For years, I built a life with my wife, Lisa. We had a good thing, at least I thought we did. After retiring, I settled into civilian life with ease. I started a security consulting business, and it took off faster than I expected. The money was good, better than what I made in the military, and it gave us the kind of life we had always dreamed of. A nice house in Texas, 2 great kids off in college, and the kind of stability most families pray for. Lisa, who had stuck by me through all those years of service, finally got to enjoy the fruits of our hard work. Then came that night. She had mentioned it casually, just a night out with her friend Megan. Just some drinks and dancing, she had said, laughing. Nothing crazy. I didn't think twice about it. Lisa wasn't the type to party. She barely drank at home, let alone at a nightclub. So I kissed her goodbye and told her to have fun. I went to bed before she got home, but something felt off. Maybe it was the way she avoided my eyes the next morning, or the way she barely touched her coffee. But I knew something had happened. I just didn't know what. Not yet. Lisa wasn't herself that morning. She moved around the kitchen like a ghost, her hands shaking slightly as she poured her coffee. Normally, she'd sit with me, ask about my plans for the day, maybe tease me about my grumpy morning face. But not today. Today, she was quiet, too quiet. I watched her over the rim of my own coffee mug, waiting for her to speak. She didn't. Instead, she stared out the window, her fingers gripping the handle of her cup like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. "Everything okay?" I finally asked, keeping my voice even. She flinched. It was subtle, but I caught it. "Yeah," she said too quickly. "Just tired. Last night was longer than I expected." That was the first lie. I didn't call her on it, not yet, but I knew. Lisa had never been a good liar. Her voice always wavered, her eyes darted away, and she fidgeted, just like she was doing now. I nodded slowly, pretending to accept it. "Got it. Hope you had fun." She forced a smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Yeah. It was fun." Another lie. I let it hang there between us, thick and suffocating. Part of me wanted to demand answers right then and there. But another part, the part of me that had spent years in war zones, reading people's faces like maps, told me to wait. She'd talk. And when she did, I wasn't sure I was ready to hear it. The confession didn't come right away. Lisa spent the rest of the day avoiding me, keeping busy with errands, laundry, anything to keep from sitting still. I let her. I wanted to see how long she could hold on to whatever was eating at her. By dinner, it was clear she was unraveling. She barely touched her food, picking at it with her fork while I ate in silence. The tension between us was suffocating. I was patient, but I wasn't a fool. I put my fork down, folded my hands, and met her eyes across the table. "Lisa," I said, my voice firm but calm. "What happened last night?" Her whole body stiffened. For a moment, I thought she tried to deny it, push the lie further. But then her face crumpled, and she let out a shaky breath. She looked down at her lap, her fingers twisting together, and I saw the tears welling in her eyes. "I messed up," she whispered. My stomach clenched. I stayed quiet, letting her talk. "We were drinking," she continued, voice thick with guilt. "More than I planned to. And there was this guy." She swallowed hard, looking at me with tear-filled eyes. "I didn't mean for anything to happen. I swear, Jack." I felt something inside me crack, but I forced my expression to stay blank. "What do you mean by happen?" She let out a small, broken sob. "I kissed him." Silence. A heavy, crushing silence. I took a slow breath, my hands gripping the edge of the table. "Just a kiss?" She hesitated, just for a second. And that second told me everything. That hesitation hit me like a bullet. A 1-second pause, but it said more than her words ever could. "Lisa," I said, my voice dangerously calm. "Tell me the truth." She wiped at her eyes, her breathing shaky. "It wasn't just a kiss," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. We went outside to talk. One thing led to another and she covered her mouth, as if trying to stop the words from escaping. I leaned back in my chair, my jaw tight. My heartbeat was a dull roar in my ears. "How far did it go?" She shook her head frantically. "I didn't sleep with him, Jack. I swear. But it got..." She squeezed her eyes shut. "It got physical. Hands. Touching. But I stopped before it went too far. Too far." What the hell did that even mean? I stared at her, the woman I had spent decades loving, the woman who had been my rock through deployments, the mother of my children. And now she sat there, falling apart, because of what she had done. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, my voice low. She let out a broken laugh, fresh tears streaming down her face. "Because I can't live with it. Because I love you. And I hate myself for what I did." I exhaled slowly, gripping the arms of my chair so I wouldn't slam my fist on the table. I had faced enemies on the battlefield, but this was a different kind of war. And I wasn't sure if I was strong enough to fight it. The room felt smaller, like the walls were closing in. Lisa sat across from me, eyes red and swollen, waiting for me to say something, anything. But what the hell was I supposed to say? That I understood? That I forgave her? That everything would be okay? Because none of that was true. I pushed my chair back and stood, needing space. The air in the house suddenly felt thick, suffocating. My hands curled into fists at my sides as I walked to the window, staring out into the dark Texas night. The land was quiet, peaceful, completely opposite of the storm raging inside me. Lisa's voice broke the silence. "Please say something." I let out a slow breath, trying to keep my emotions in check. "What do you want me to say, Lisa?" I turned to look at her, and she flinched at the coldness in my voice. "That I appreciate your honesty? That it makes this easier?" I shook my head. "Because it doesn't." "I know," she whispered, wiping her face. "I know I screwed up. I can't take it back, Jack. But I needed to tell you. I needed to be honest." "Honest?" I let out a bitter laugh. "You should have been honest last night. Before you let it happen." She winced like I had struck her. I wanted to walk out. I wanted to grab my keys, slam the door, and disappear for a few hours. But I wasn't sure if I'd come back. So instead I stood there, staring at the woman I had loved for over 20 years, wondering if I still knew who she was. And worse, if I even wanted to anymore. Lisa sat there, shoulders slumped, her hands gripping the fabric of her jeans like she was holding on for dear life. I could see the regret on her face, hear it in every shaky breath she took. But regret didn't erase what happened. It didn't undo the damage. I ran a hand down my face, trying to think through the fog of anger clouding my mind. "Who was he?" I finally asked. Her head snapped up, eyes wide. "Jack. Who was he?" I repeated, each word sharp enough to cut. She swallowed hard. "I don't know." I clenched my jaw. "You expect me to believe that?" Her lower lip trembled. "I only know his first name. Brian. He was just there. Buying drinks, being friendly. I never meant for anything to happen." That word again. Meant. Like it had just been some accident. Like she had tripped and fallen into another man's arms. I exhaled sharply, forcing myself to stay calm. "And if you hadn't stopped? If guilt didn't hit you at the last second?" Tears slipped down her cheeks. "I don't know." That hurt more than anything else she had said. Not no. Not it never would have gone further. Just I don't know. I nodded slowly, stepping back like I needed the extra space between us. "I need some air." Lisa stood suddenly, panic flashing across her face. "Jack, please." But I was already grabbing my keys. I need to think, Lisa. And I can't do it here. Before she could say anything else, I walked out the door, letting it slam shut behind me. The night air was cool, but it did nothing to calm the fire raging inside me. I got in my truck, gripping the steering wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My instinct was to drive, just go anywhere but here. But I didn't even turn the key. I just sat there, staring out into the darkness, trying to make sense of it all. Lisa had been my everything. The woman who wrote me letters during deployments, who stayed up late on video calls just to see my face, who raised our kids while I was off serving my country. She had been my rock, my home. And now, she was the person who had broken me. I replayed her words over and over. I don't know. She couldn't even say for sure that she would have stopped. A sick feeling settled in my gut. What else was she not telling me? I pulled out my phone, staring at it. I wasn't sure of who I wanted to call. Maybe my buddy Mike, a fellow veteran who'd always had my back. Maybe one of my kids, just to hear their voices and remind myself of what still mattered. Instead, I found myself searching for something else. The nightclub. I pulled up its location, my jaw tightening. Maybe it was the soldier in me, or maybe it was just a man who refused to be made a fool of, but I needed to know. Needed to see the place where it happened. Before I could talk myself out of it, I started the truck and pulled out of the driveway. I wasn't going there to drink. I was going there for answers. The drive to the nightclub felt longer than it should have. My thoughts raced the entire way, my grip tight on the wheel. Part of me wondered if this was a mistake, if I should just turn around and go home. But I couldn't. I needed to see it, to put myself in the place where my wife had betrayed me. I pulled into the parking lot, scanning the crowd of people going in and out. It was the kind of place I had never imagined Lisa stepping foot in. Neon lights, loud music vibrating through the pavement, young people laughing as they stumbled out, half drunk and carefree. She didn't belong here. But last night, she had been one of them. I sat there for a moment, gripping the steering wheel, then got out. I wasn't sure exactly what I was looking for, but I knew I wasn't leaving until I found something. Inside, the bass was deafening, the air thick with alcohol and sweat. I moved through the crowd, my eyes scanning every face, looking for someone, anyone, who might recognize her. I made my way to the bar, leaning in toward the bartender. "You working last night?" The guy barely glanced at me as he poured a drink. "Yeah. Why?" I pulled out my phone, bringing up a photo of Lisa. "You see her here?" His eyes flicked to the screen, then back to me, a little more interested now. He hesitated. "Maybe. What's it to you?" I clenched my jaw. "She's my wife." That changed everything. His expression shifted slightly, pity maybe, or guilt. He nodded toward a corner booth. "She was with some guy. Tall, dark hair. Hands all over her." My stomach dropped. I already knew, but hearing it from someone else made it real. And I wasn't sure I was ready for what I'd find next. The bartender's words hit like a punch to the gut. Hands all over her. The image played in my mind, twisting my stomach into knots. Lisa had told me the truth, at least part of it. But now, hearing it from a stranger, it felt worse. I took a slow breath, forcing my hands to unclench. "This guy," I said, my voice tight. "You know him?" The bartender shrugged, wiping down the counter. "Seen him here before. Not a regular, but not a stranger either." That didn't tell me much. "He say his name?" "Brian, I think," he said, confirming what Lisa had told me. "Didn't catch a last name." I glanced toward the booth he had motioned to earlier. It was empty now, just another dark corner in a place full of bad decisions. I turned back to the bartender. "You remember what time they left?" He hesitated. "Look, man, I don't want any trouble. Whatever happened, just tell me." I cut in, my patience hanging by a thread. He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "She left before him. Didn't look happy. He tried to follow, but she waved him off. She was drunk though. Real drunk." He looked at me, his voice a little softer. She looked guilty as hell, man. I swallowed hard and nodded. That part, at least, lined up with what Lisa had said. But guilt didn't erase what had happened. I turned to leave, my mind already working through my next move. I had answers, but I wasn't sure I had the ones I needed. I drove home in silence, the weight of everything pressing down on me like a damn freight train. The bartender's words echoed in my head. She looked guilty as hell, man. Yeah, no kidding. Lisa had confessed before I had to dig, but now that I knew more, I couldn't stop the questions from piling up. Had she really stopped things before they went too far? Or had guilt only kicked in once she realized she'd crossed the line she couldn't come back from? And what about Brian? Was he some random guy? Or had he been waiting for an opportunity like this? By the time I pulled into the driveway, my hands ached from gripping the steering wheel. I sat there for a minute, staring at the house, the home we built together. It didn't feel like home anymore. When I walked inside, Lisa was sitting on the couch, eyes red and swollen, like she hadn't moved since I left. She shot up when she saw me. "Jack!" I held up a hand, stopping her. "I went to the club." She paled. "Oh God!" I nodded slowly. "Yeah. I know what happened. I know about Brian." Tears welled up in her eyes. "I told you the truth." "Did you?" I asked, my voice colder than I expected. "Because from what I heard, you weren't exactly pushing him away." She flinched. I was drunk, Jack." I let out a bitter laugh. "That's not an excuse, Lisa." Silence stretched between us. For the first time, I saw the real fear in her eyes. Fear of what came next. Truth was, I didn't know either. All I knew was that the woman I loved had broken something in me, and I wasn't sure it could be fixed.